Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Monday, and all of our guests today, including Jamie McLennan, standing by, are brought to you by Basant Motors. Ready to find your next vehicle? Visit Basant Motors today. To experience the difference for yourself, the friendly team looks forward to helping you drive home in the perfect vehicle for your needs and budget. Getting to your destination starts with us. Learn more at Basant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. Joined now by Noodles from TSN, Jamie McLennan. Thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing today?
Very well, very well. Always interesting here in Vancouver. They lose to Dallas last night, 4-1. Besser, Pedersen, DeBrusque, all with reduced minutes from Rick Tocchet. Jamie, this time of year, is it the right thing to do to send that sort of message to three of your best offensive players when you're having trouble scoring goals?
I think you can choose. I mean, Rick Tocchet's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I think you choose your battles. And last night was probably a scenario where, like, okay, we're not going to win this game. So you can maybe die on that hill on that particular night. But, next game, you're going to need them. So sometimes you do need to send a strong message. I liked his comments after. There is a standard. There's an accountability. And keep in mind, they didn't do a lot of moves at the deadline. So this is the team that Rick Tocchet is going to coach down the stretch here and try and get them into the playoffs. So I think it was a strong message. He didn't probably like what he saw out of those three. So you give others opportunities, again, on that particular night where you knew Dallas was going to have a response, having left 2 points on the table in Edmonton the night before. So, again, pick your battles. You're not going to do that every night, but on a particular night. I'll give you an example. I watched Tampa play the other day, and John Cooper sat Kucherov. And then in the third period, he put him on the third line, and he ended up setting up the game-winning goal against Buffalo. So there are times where you need to send a strong message to your top players. You have to have that feel. You have to have that relationship with them that they know you're no nonsense. But it's an accountability play. And to me, that trickles through the lineup going, doesn't matter how much you get paid, who you are, the coach is going to hold you to task.
Yeah, it's a gutsy move because with Kucherov and Cooper, that team's less desperate than the Canucks. So
yes.
A little bit of a different situation. Here's something you haven't been asked over the last 48 hours. What's the relationship going to be like moving forward, however long they have together between Mitch Marner and the Leafs after the reports of him being asked to waive his no-trade clause?
Well, I think what it does is they had kicked the contract talk, the can down the road at the start of the season. So, Mitch came out and said, we're not going to talk about it. I just want to focus on playing hockey. The Maple Leafs say we want him to be here, but we're going to respect Mitch's wishes. He basically has the cards because he's got a no move clause. So it was silence all year long. And you guys know on my show, we rarely talk about it because it's not a topic. And then the Rantanen thing happened, the trade out of nowhere. And people are like, I wonder if the Leafs would, look at doing something like that. And then you didn't hear much. And then all of a sudden you hear, maybe Rantanen's going to get traded again. You're like, what the hell is going on? And then, it gets put out there by insiders that the Leafs had actually asked him to waive. I believe they had asked him to also extend. So I don't know the whole, again, I'm not privy to that information, but you either sign him or you trade him, and they were unable to do neither. So I'll be honest, I think it's going to be quite noisy down the stretch here. And the relationship, I don't think the relationship would be fractured, but I do believe, it has put a spotlight on Mitch Marner because now with Rantanen off the books, I guess him and Sam Bennett would be the guys who would be the premier number one unrestricted free agents, unless I'm missing somebody else here, that could probably be in that conversation.
Yeah, Sam Bennett for sure. Hey, Edmonton and Colorado are two teams leaking goals in the West. The Avalanche have already addressed their goaltending situation. Were you surprised Edmonton didn't get a goalie at the deadline, Jamie?
I wasn't, because the only names that were being thrown around was John Gibson and I don't even know if there was any other names being thrown around. John Gibson has a couple years left at 6.4, so you would have had to have Anaheim eat a ton of his salary. I don't know if that's a massive upgrade on Stuart Skinner. The other thing is we did a stat, and in the last 3 years, I believe out of 16 starts that Gibson's had, he's come out of the net 19 times. That's either been pulled or have left the net for injury. And he left, I think it was against Montreal the other night too. So, is there a trust situation with John Gibson? I wasn't surprised. I thought they were going to maybe just go get a number 3. And they've got Colin Delia, who has 50 NHL games as their number 3, potentially in the minors. But I think they're pot committed. They were, 1 game away from winning the Cup last year. I think the philosophy in Edmonton, and I would agree with it to a point, is to ask the players on that roster to play better and more consistent. And I would say Stuart Skinner, I would say Evan Bouchard, I would say Matthias Ekholm, I would say Darnell Nurse, Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Victor Arvidsson, even Connor McDavid. None of them have had career seasons. So, how you ask internally to go, if you guys play better, the spotlight isn't on the goaltending. It's on everybody as a group. So I think that's what they're going to do, is internally say, we need everybody to play better. We got Frederick. We've got Evander Kane potentially coming back. And they made the move for Jake Wallman. They think internally they've got what it takes to at least to get to that next level.
Hey, Jimmy, thank goodness for Kevin Lankinen, because I'll tell you, when Demko got his last injury, they said that night it's not serious. Well, he's past the 4-week mark now. There's got to be concern there. This is 4 injuries now in the last 11 months, and this one is now past 4 weeks. So, and we have no idea when he's going to be back.
It's funny. I read as much as I can in Vancouver. I watch the games. I hate to say this. You guys know how much I love him. He's almost become an afterthought. It's a bonus if he shows up for me. Lankinen, they obviously committed to him financially in term, and he's done a fantastic job. I don't lay anything at his feet. This is a guy who didn't have a contract in September and has shown up, and he's earned his money and more. But am I concerned? Absolutely. I don't know. I don't know if could Thatcher Demko skate out today and say I'm declare himself 100%, or would you be shocked if he said the news is we're not sure and we'll see in a month? I don't know, and that is concerning, because lost in all of this, the Pettersson, the Miller, Quinn Hughes' injury, Demko's injury, they got a playoff spot on the line. And these teams are trying, it's almost like they're trying to give it away. Okay, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it. There's 4 teams for 1 spot. And if everybody's healthy, I would argue that Vancouver's probably the best team on paper, but they got to go and get it. And you need health, you need luck, you need all of that fun stuff. So that's right there for them. And that's why I think Rick Tocchet's yelling and screaming at his players, saying, I'm going to hold everybody to task. That playoff spot is still available to us. And if we play the Winnipeg Jets, maybe there's a chance you can go at them. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So lots to digest there in Vancouver. And the crazy thing is, I believe you're 1 point out of a playoff spot.
Yeah. That is the one aspect that's hard to believe about this season. They're still there regarding a playoff spot. Hey, you grew up in Edmonton, Grant Fuhr fan. Will you be okay if Ovechkin breaks Gretzky's record with another empty net goal?
I mean, you would like it to be. Listen, he scored a lot of good goals this year. I watched him live in Ottawa. It was an overtime shelf short side shot. To me, I mean, growing up in Edmonton, watching Gretzky do the 50 and 39 into an empty netter, it didn't change it for me. You guys know I'm not an Oiler fan. I grew up a fan of players. I was a fan of Gretzky, obviously Messier, Grant Fuhr, Mike Liut, Eddie Mio. I loved names and players. I never really had a favorite team. But if he does it to an empty net, it takes a little shine off of it. But I'll be honest, if he does it, it's just this. You got to tip your cap to this guy, because he's done it in an era where the goaltending has gotten a lot better. You look at some of the Gretzky goals and the goaltender standing up and skating out, and he puts it on the ice far side. Like nowadays, if a goaltender did that, he'd just have to keep skating to the bench because the coach would pull him. So it's a lot different, but I did not think it was going to happen this year. I can't believe that we're talking about it. That's close. He deserves every accolade and little bit of love that he is receiving because he is going to be the greatest goal scorer of all time.
And I've said this a million times on this show, so these guys are going to roll their eyes. But you know why Gretzky got 5 goals that night, don't you know, Jamie? Don't you know why?
No. Flyers
were wearing Cooperalls. Check it out.
Well, I know they were wearing the one-piece Cooperalls. Is it what they can't skate in them? The stride, is that what it was? Or
I don't know. I just figured that when you're wearing tuxedo pants, it's got to be a disadvantage on the ice. All right. long forgotten.
Days,
yeah,
they might have worn them to the bar the night before too. You never know. Back in those days.
Hey, hand it to goaltenders back then. They never wore Cooperalls.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't, but it just that was a weird look. There were some weird times back then.
Yeah. You only had 2 teams wearing them, Hartford and Philadelphia. Everybody else in the old school pants. It was really strange. Jamie, thanks for this. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet.